Right off the bat, you might ask, are men's and women's brains different? Well, the answer is yes. The brain, with its 100 billion neurons, is incredibly complex. Despite being compact, the brain governs our deepest emotions and shapes our identity. Each is unique, reflecting the individuality of every person. Let's delve into these fascinating variations. Welcome to Brain Hub. Firstly, let's talk about size. Men's brains are typically larger than women's. But before you jump to conclusions, remember that a larger brain isn't necessarily more efficient or better. It's all about how the brain regions communicate with each other. Now, let's move on to structure. In our brain, the communication lines are slightly different in men and women. In men, these lines tend to run within each hemisphere, like a circular highway around the brain. In women, the highways often cross between hemispheres, more like bridges connecting two sides of a river. This difference can influence how men and women process information. Then there's the matter of hormones. Picture these as the fuel that powers our city. Men's brains produce more testosterone, whereas women's brains produce more estrogen and progesterone. However, it's crucial to remember that these are generalizations. Not every man's brain is the same, and not every woman's either. The brain is a complex, adaptable organ. It's influenced by a range of factors, including genetics, environment, and personal experiences. But how do these biological differences translate into our daily lives? Well, they have a profound impact on our behavior, skill sets, emotional response, and cognitive abilities. Let's dive into it. Take behavior, for instance. Scientific research suggests that males tend to be more aggressive and competitive, while females are often more empathetic and cooperative. This divergence may be rooted in the dissimilarities in our brain structures. Now remember, these are general tendencies, and individual variations are vast. Moving on to skill sets, we often hear about men being better at spatial tasks and women excelling in verbal tasks. It's not a myth. Studies show that these differences may be linked to the way our brains are wired. Men, on average, tend to have more connections within each hemisphere of the brain, which might aid in spatial reasoning. Women, however, have more connections between the two hemispheres, which could possibly enhance verbal and social abilities. Next, let's consider emotional response. It's been observed that women are generally more expressive about their emotions. This might be because the limbic system, which is involved in emotional processing, is larger in women. Men, on the other hand, often have a more stoic emotional response. Lastly, cognitive abilities. Men and women might excel in different cognitive domains. The diversity in our cognitive abilities allows us to approach problems from different angles, promoting innovation and collaboration. However, it's crucial to remember that these are broad generalizations, and individual differences can and do override these patterns. It's also worth noting that our brains are remarkably adaptable, capable of learning and growing. But wait, it's not all about biology. Now let's delve into the fascinating role society and culture play in shaping our brains. It's easy to think that our brains are simply products of our genes, but the reality is far more complex. Society and culture are like silent sculptors, molding our brains throughout our lives. From the moment we're born, our brains begin absorbing the world around us. The language we speak, the customs we follow, the values we uphold, all these elements of our culture leave an indelible mark on our brains. Take, for example, the concept of gender roles. Many societies have long-standing traditions that dictate what activities are suitable for men and women. These cultural norms can influence how our brains develop. If boys are encouraged to play with blocks and girls are guided towards dolls, this early socialization can shape their spatial and empathetic abilities, respectively. Moreover, societal expectations can have a powerful impact on our self-perception and behavior. If we're constantly told that men are logical and women are emotional, we might unconsciously adopt these traits, not because of our biology, but because society expects us to. This phenomenon, known as stereotype threat, can even influence performance on cognitive tasks. But it's important to remember that culture is not a monolith. It's a vibrant tapestry, constantly evolving and diversifying. In some societies, the traditional gender norms are being challenged and redefined, allowing individuals to break free from the constraints of outdated stereotypes. This shift is not only influencing our societal structure, but also how our brains are shaped. Finally, let's not overlook the role of individual experiences. Each person's unique journey, their triumphs, their trials, their interactions with the world around them, all contribute to the intricate mosaic that is their brain. In conclusion, biology does lay the groundwork for our brains, but society and culture build upon it, adding layers of complexity and nuance. So, even though our brains might be wired differently, our experiences and environments also play a crucial role in shaping who we are. This understanding holds the power to transform the very fabric of our societies, from our educational systems and healthcare practices to our personal relationships. Let's take a look at education, for instance. When we comprehend the inherent differences in how male and female brains process information, we can tailor our teaching methods to better suit each individual's learning style. This could mean a shift towards more collaborative projects for those who excel in empathetic understanding, or perhaps more hands-on practical tasks for those who thrive on spatial reasoning. Education then becomes not a one-size-fits-all model, but a tailored approach that celebrates and nurtures individual strengths. In healthcare, understanding these differences could lead to more personalized medicine. We already know that certain conditions present differently in men and women, so wouldn't it be logical to expect that treatments might need to be adjusted accordingly? By acknowledging these differences, we can strive towards a more inclusive, more effective healthcare system that caters to everyone's unique needs. And then, of course, there are our personal relationships. Imagine how much smoother our interactions could be if we truly understood the different ways in which we perceive the world around us. Recognizing that a partner's brain might process emotions differently than yours, or that a colleague might approach problem-solving from an entirely different angle, can lead to more effective communication, less misunderstanding, and ultimately, stronger relationships. The power of understanding these differences is immense. It's the power to transform our world for the better. It's the power to appreciate the diverse ways in which we experience life, and to use this appreciation to create a more empathetic, more inclusive society. With understanding comes the power to bridge gaps, foster empathy, and celebrate our unique strengths. And that, my friends, is a power worth pursuing.